Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be in your part of the world. Welcome back to the live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz, and today we're here for another live C Sharp with CSharpFritz episode. How are you doing there, chat room? It's beautiful. It's sunny here in Philadelphia. It's nice and warm out. Okay, warm is an understatement. It's downright hot. My lord. I was it was so hot over the weekend. I don't know about you in your part of the world, but here in the northern hemisphere, on the east coast of these United States, oh, it's been a warm, very warm few days, and it's quite sunny there. Loo- looking out the window there to Philadelphia, that skyline, it's amazing. If you look closely, you can see birds go flying by. If only it wasn't just a static picture. Okay, how you doing there, chat room? Let me say hello to the chat room. They're right over there. Hello, hello. Steven's here on YouTube dialing in from Melbourne, Australia. Chris Jones, good to see you over there on Twitch. Is it Lekith? How you doing there? Octavio. Stefan is here on YouTube. Hello to you in Serbia. I'm doing great. Like I said, a little bit warm. Just a little bit warm. How you doing there, Renan? On YouTube. Timo's on YouTube as well. Hello, Chad Gregory, getting some coffee, getting some donuts. I got my cup of coffee right here. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Renan, we don't language shame here. We do like C# to be sure, but let's not language shame. Let's not compare technologies here. We know what we like, and we're going to stick with that. How you doing? Let me see here. Has anyone tried fast endpoints? No, I haven't. Dima Olex, good to see you. You're here from Brazil. Great to have you. Daryl Duck asks, how warm? We got up over 95 Fahrenheit this weekend. Yeah, the UK's been melting down. Yeah, Chris. It's been crazy warm in the UK and other parts of Europe. How you doing there, Ugo Chukwu? Good to see you. Kind of cold in southern Brazil. Well, yeah, on the southern hemisphere, yeah, you're seeing the other side of things. I like it a little bit colder, not too cold, but I do like it colder there. DJ Homer says it's 100 in Serbia, 100 Fahrenheit in Serbia. Ooh, that's sweltering. MJ Bosey, scooping that half baked in Germany. Yeah. How you doing, Gabriel on YouTube? Octavio, hola to you. We're in the middle of our AMA, welcoming folks in here. We've got about 40 minutes. You see there the timer counting down on our AMA, answering questions, greeting folks that are joining us as they drop into chat, and then we'll get into today's lesson. But before I do that, let me get some music playing here in the background. There we go. This is Stream Beats by Harris Heller. This is music that is royalty-free, DMCA-free. You can listen to it wherever you'd like. Doesn't matter if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Facebook. It's all good. Check it out at streambeats.com. There's music for all different genres there. I like this. This is the Synthwave playlist on Spotify. They've also got playlists for you on Apple Music and Amazon Music. And, of course, you can download the songs if you need them as well. Thank you so much to Harris Heller and his team of creators for making this music available for us to listen to today. Gotta do the credit. Gotta do the credits for the music before the whole thing gets muted. How you doing there, .NET Kyle? Good to see you. Adonis Adipos, hello. Adrian, good to see you over there on Twitch. Strug is here from Russia. Welcome him. Christian is here from Macedonia on YouTube. Good to see you. Mario says, cheers from Germany. Guten Tag. Guten Nachmittag to you, Mario. Good to see you. Mike is here from Virginia on the YouTube. There, a Hewlett-Packard device is here from Thailand. Good to see our friends Hewlett and Packard dialed in from Thailand. Hello, hello. Georgie is here from Hungary. Hello. Arvind from India. Welcome in. Guy Bailey from Texas. Andres is here from Colombia. Welcome, welcome. Octavio is from Colombia. Is it Relabohil? Is that how you pronounce that? From Lesotho? I'm not familiar with that part of the world. Elotunji is here from Lagos. How you doing there? It's raining in Kharkiv, says Alexander on YouTube. See, we're supposed to get a little bit of rain here in the Philadelphia area later today. We'll see how it goes. Chris Jones says they hit an all-time high of 40.2 Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit. Yeah. I was managing and planning an event in Las Vegas several years ago, and they scheduled it for the middle of July. The middle of July in Las Vegas. That's in a desert here in the States. It was 114 Fahrenheit in the shade. That was a rough event. Smab, how you doing there? But you're mostly not here today. That's cool. Glad to have you listening in. Currently 93 Fahrenheit where Adonis Adipos is. Steven asks, how was my trip? Every weekend or two here, we've been picking up my daughter from college, taking her back and forth. It's a 3-hour drive, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you drive out and come back, it turns into 6. That's a lot. Ooh, in one day. So, and doing that twice in a weekend. Ooh, it's a lot. So Hutch is here from Dallas, Texas. Good to see you, Hutch. Well, we'll forgive you for now about those Cowboys. Simon, good to see you from Sweden. Syrium is here from Kazakhstan. Hello. Piotr, how you doing in Poland? Sorry, we got to stick with English here. My apologies. Stefan, how you doing? With a question here. What are the best practices with logging in .NET? Do you clear providers and things like that? Good questions. We're going to get in and talk about logging today. Today's lessons, we're going to be talking about logging. We're going to be talking about action filters with ASP.NET. And we're also going to talk a bit about building unit tests for ASP.NET projects. we wrote all this code. How do you test it? How do you make sure that it works the right way? That it works the way you said it should be? So we're going to get in. We're going to talk about that. Best practices for logging. We've purposely given enough choice, enough configuration options that there aren't really best practices. These work the best for your scenario. And when you start adding on and building more logging providers, adding more capabilities for logging, there's preferences that you'll develop depending on where you deploy to. Hey, yeah, let's register that Azure Application Insights logging provider. Or, you know what, I'm logging locally. Let's use Serilog and a service like that to save our content. We'll talk about some of those and get those configured and saved off for you. How you doing, Emmanuel in Nigeria? Diogo is here from Brazil. How you doing? Chris Jones has been to Vegas in July, casino hopping. Yes, that's exactly what these folks were doing. They were casino hopping, and when you have to take a bus across town to get from one venue to the next because the conference was spread across 4 hotels, they weren't right next to each other. You're going to have traffic. You're going to have all that heat creating problems. Yeah, folks weren't too happy to be walking between buildings. They pretty much picked a venue and stayed there all day. Lessons learned from that one. Hutch is originally from Pittsburgh, PA. Go Stillers. Those Stillers. See, folks from other part of the nation call them the Steelers. No. Here in Pennsylvania, they're the Stillers. So, Dima Olex says that's going to be some interesting topics. Yeah, I think we'll have some fun with it. We'll do some configuration and see how it goes. Gabriel with a question here. Would I use clean architecture, not necessarily full-blown domain-driven design, for a small CRUD app? If not, would a better approach just put everything in one project? Yes, for a small create, read, update, delete application, put everything in one application, one project. There's no need to break things out and get a little crazy with architecture. That's leaving yourself the decision to make between good enough, it meets today's requirements, and I need to make sure that I provide all the extensible capabilities so that we can add in feature XYZ that I don't even know about that's going to be developed in 2025. Balancing that technical debt, and anybody who tells you it's technical debt when it wasn't a requirement when you made those decisions in 2022 is they're trying to steal money from you, is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you over-architect and overbuild things that you don't need. Build just what you need. There's a very strong, concept in Lean and Scrum development called YAGNI, and it's an acronym that stands for "You aren't gonna need it." If you don't need it, don't build it. That's not technical debt. That's delivering the requirements that are put in front of you. When requirements change, okay, then you need to change architecture and update things appropriately. Technical debt is when you have requirements in front of you and you make decisions that cut some corners, shortcut some things to deliver what you have to do today, knowing that you have requirements that you have to extend and be able to provide later. If you don't know what those requirements are later, if somebody came to you in 1970 and said, hey, you're building this mainframe application and all this great stuff, but you know what? There's a guy in 2005 with a cool black turtleneck that's going to come out and he's going to invent a thing called an iPhone. So we need you to make sure that we can access this thing on HTTP port 80. Now, don't worry about what port 80 is now, but make sure we can access it with it, because in 35 years, we need to be able to interact with this data. Is that technical debt? You can't plan for something that you don't know. So when people tell you that it's technical debt, when it's not something that's a requirement currently, They're lying to you. They're trying to steal money from you by making you build things and waste your time, and time is money, building things that you don't need yet. If you don't need it, if you're not building with it, if that's not a requirement of your system that's been declared, and requirements and foresight that your analysts, your program manager should say, well, here's what we need over the next 6 months, 18 months, 3 years. They have that foresight of here are the things that we're going to build. If they're not giving you some of those concepts, some of those long-term vision things, then it's not technical debt. I'm very passionate about that topic. So I would definitely, for a small create, read, update app that doesn't have a lot of business logic, put everything in one project. Get it done. Get it delivered quickly. Then when more business logic happens, then when more facilities are needed, more features need to interact with more systems, then start refactoring for DDD. Let me see here. Let me see. How you doing there? Kareem on YouTube asks, this is Tahib from Lagos, Nigeria. I am new to software development. What are resources you can recommend for a beginner? You're looking at them. I've got a great collection of videos here on this channel. We've got amazing videos teaching the basics of .NET, going through and showing all the things that you can do to set up, get involved, and build applications, whether it's for the web, it's native applications for Windows, it's native applications for mobile using .NET MAUI, it's web applications, it's cloud applications, games. We have all kinds of videos right here on this channel on YouTube that'll give you information about that. If you want to learn more about it, maybe you don't like watching videos, go to .net/learn, and there's a ton of tutorials, self-paced walkthrough documentation there that'll get you in the direction that you need to be. Stephen asks, what is the preferred testing framework these days, Mock or XUnit? Well, hang on. Those are two different things. XUnit is a unit testing framework. XUnit, NUnit, MS Test, those are unit testing frameworks. Mock, M-O-Q, is a mocking framework that allows you to swap out objects. So two different things. I would use them together. Let me see. Mike asks, would I test a delay and cancellation in a unit test? A delay and a cancellation, no, I wouldn't. Because those are things that are going to be dependent on a processor, dependent on some other interaction. I would try to mock that out in some way. And substitute, fluent assertions, XUnit. Cool, that's good. Daryl Duck says everything is technical debt. I see Daryl's a consultant. Simon just got first C# project working in a first version and was thinking, how do I test this a few hours ago? Talk about timing. Yeah, we'll get into that. Burke Markovic, how you doing there? On Twitch, Andres Ola Valencia, good to see you. Hutch, thank you for saying that about technical debt. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, Johnny B. Cat. How you doing there? Jesse Ingles. Chris Gomez, all features are unimplemented by default. True. True. Which ones do you actually need, is the question. And don't, as developers, don't let other analysts and other folks say, well, you didn't consider this feature in the future. How are you supposed to know? You're not the one who's talking to the customers and designing what the requirements are. That's somebody else's job. Yeah, how you doing there, Joseph? Gabriel, yep, good. How you doing there, Apricot in Ukraine? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Seago, hello to you in the UK. Mario, last time Signal Art, yep. Do I know libraries that encrypt and or compress the data, or is it already done through the protocol? It is already done through the protocol. ASP.NET Core will automatically do gzip and Brotli compression for you if they're available. How you doing there, Erman in Turkey? Good to see you. Dima Olex asks, will there be learning about gRPC in .NET? yeah, we can get into gRPC. I won't be doing it today. Today I'm covering 3 requests that came in from the issues in our GitHub repository. Exclamation point GitHub will get you a link to that repository. The C# with CSharpFritz repository. Hello, Jack. Good to see you on Twitch. Bulat, salam to you in Turkey. Carlos is here from the Dominican. Hello, hello. You're very welcome for the lectures. Is it Clades? Brooks? Hola, me, James. Am I going to demo Object Filler, Mock, and XUnit? I was only going to get into XUnit. I can get into a little bit of Mock. Yeah. But Object Filler, I'm not sure what you mean by Object Filler. Is that a framework? Hello, Ranjit in India. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Chris. Did Stream Elements, did it post the no, it didn't. Let me run over to Stream Elements real quick. Change. Head over to Visual Studio channel. And chatbot. Commands. No, custom commands. Come on now. Yeah, it should be on. Alright, continuing. Will today's topic also cover minimal API or just MVC? Nope, we're in MVC. We covered minimal APIs a couple videos ago. You can scroll up in the playlist to those. Andres asks, where can I find good documentation examples, tutorials of multi-tenant, back-end, model view presenter with .NET Core? Have I done sessions about it already? Okay, hang on. So multi-tenant, when you start bringing multi-tenant into the discussion, that's an architecture concept that you can build. It's not something that Microsoft delivers out of the box as part of the framework. So folks that want to do multi-tenant, there's several different ways that you can architect to do that. But it's not something that we provide. Just like we don't provide information about CQRS and DDD architecture. Those are things that you can build on top of the frameworks that other folks talk about. I mean, multi-tenant, depending on how you want to store things in your databases, you may want to do one database. You may want to do database per tenant. You may want to set up and have different architectures altogether. Different databases, different storage mechanisms. You may want to store things on disk, what have you. And how you stand up your websites. You may want to stand up a container with the website for each tenant. You may want to run everything through one website and detect a host header and pivot the tenants appropriately. Or you may just want to detect the login and carry a tenant ID on the login and behave appropriately. All kinds of decisions to be made about designing multi-tenant architecture. I may have done it for a few years, but not something that we carry, that we point folks to encourage and specify. Let me post that link to the GitHub repository here in chat. I thought it would work with YouTube. I thought it did. I don't see it working over there. No matter. There's your GitHub repository. All right. James Shaw Wesley is here from Zimbabwe. James Shaw on YouTube asks, between Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server apps, which option is best suited for data-driven apps with mainly CRUD operations? Blazor Server. Unless you're doing something that needs to do some heavy lifting or needs to heavy lifting in the browser, or you're going to be disconnected from the network, use Blazor Server. Blazor WebAssembly can be a little heavy, and it really shines when you're doing a lot of processor-intensive work in the browser. How you doing there, Ian in Brazil? Bulat asks, what do I think of BDD in context of software QA testing? It's a really cool framework doing behavior-driven development. The concept of the Gherkin language, the given when then syntax that you can use with that is really, really cool. Tools like Cucumber make that really flexible and great to be able to share with our folks who are not technical, and they can specify requirements using that very crisp syntax and be able to translate that requirement directly into a behavior-driven development series of tests. It's a nice tool to bring the team together and make sure everybody has a stake in testing. .NET Object Filler fills your properties with random data. No, we're not going to be going through that today. That's somebody else's library that I will not be touching on today. Sorry. Coruscant. Okay. Lebohang, how you doing there in South Africa? Which unit testing framework should we choose? Choose the one that makes you happy. There's a bunch of them out there. I like XUnit, so that's the one that I'm going to show you today. Other testing frameworks have similar features, whether it's XUnit, NUnit, MS Test. There's a bunch of them out there, but I like XUnit. Hello to you in Ukraine. Good to see you. So Nathan's talking about performance and security. Yeah, okay. Kana Kieran, good to see you over there on Twitch. Khalid, what do I suggest should you learn besides C#? HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You're going to need all of those if you're building web applications, and you'll even be able to get them running inside of an Electron app, inside of a native app, running on your favorite machine, your favorite operating system. Continuing here, Steven asks, does Visual Studio 2022 come with a local... What do you mean by local history? A local history feature. I'm not sure what you mean by local history. Emmanuel is here from Germany. Guten Nachmittag, Emmanuel. Good to see you. DJ Homer asks, did I ever do WCF? Yes. Cold Hands Chai. Hello to you in India. What do I think about logging with Elk? Never tried it. What's the best way to test JSON content? Asks Johnny B. Cat. What do you mean by test it? Testing a JSON API endpoint? Testing the format of something? Serialization of something? Help me out there. Hey, Final Stack. Am I going to be talking about test coverage? No. I can show it in Visual Studio, but test coverage, I think, is in the times that I've used test coverage, it's been more turned into a metric that management likes to use to prove that developers aren't doing enough work. Test coverage, in my mind, is only important if it tests and covers those areas of your application where you have significant business logic that is susceptible to breaking, changing, evolution. That's where I'm concerned about writing unit tests. My writing tests for the methods that are copying properties, that are doing some other simple interactions, it's a waste of my time. My time is more valuable writing and testing and making sure that the valued code that has the business logic in it is executing properly. Muhammad is here from Pakistan. Good to see you. Hello. We have another Muhammad here with a question. Are there recommended references to understand the business logic more so I don't pollute clean architecture with things I don't understand if it's business or implementation details? Writing comments in your code isn't polluting the architecture. Comments in code are just fine and welcome. Remember, code is written for humans to read. When the machine interprets and reads that, all the comments disappear. So write as many comments as you want to make them clear inside your code. Now, comments can go out of... They can go out of alignment, right? They can go out of date compared to the code that they are written to intend to document. So there's techniques to write your code so it's very self-documenting, right? Don't name your variables I, J, and K. Name it page number, page count, something like that, so that it's clear this is what this thing is doing, and it becomes a little self-documenting. It's easier to read those variable names, and you know, oh, that's not I, just some integer out there. It's a page counter that's going on that I'm looking at. So I would definitely consider that. I would also put together some sort of a docs folder next to your projects where you can lob some text documents, some markup, some images, maybe even slides that are appropriate for developers to transfer and keep that tribal knowledge, right, that your team knows and shares about your project. Put that in a docs folder next to your project so that as things change and evolve, new requirements come along, you can point new folks to that docs folder and they can get up to speed. Good question, Mohammed. Thank you so much for asking. Nathan on YouTube asks, would I recommend using Electron over a Blazor Maui hybrid? No, I would not recommend using Electron at all anymore. No, absolutely not. The problem with Electron is you bundle and package the Chrome, an instance of the Chromium browser with it. That means that as the Chrome browser updates, your application goes out of compliance with the current standards, the patches that are being deployed by the Chrome team. This is a problem. If you use not so much Blazor Maui hybrid, but a Maui hybrid, an application that uses the WebView 2 component with .NET, you don't necessarily have to write .NET, but it will host a web application, a web browser that's native to your operating system. When you compile and deliver that WPF app with the WebView 2, you get Edge running inside your application. And when you install your Angular, your Vue, your Blazor app inside of there, it'll always run on the current version of the browser on that operating system. So Edge gets patched, your application gets patched. Safari gets patched on Mac, your application gets patched. You aren't leaving that attack vector open. That's what I would recommend taking a look at. Tracking changes to a file without source control? No. Visual Studio will show you highlights down the side between saves, but no, it won't track changes to a file without source control. Run Git locally and you'll get that type of feature. Zafar, how you doing there? Emmanuel says, Guten Tag. Good to see you. Johnny B. Cat is looking to test the JSON API endpoint. How would I approach it? Yeah, if you have an JSON API endpoint that you're running in ASP.NET, you can set up a test server. I'm not going to get into that today, but you can set up an in-memory server that can make requests directly into it and get data back. That's one way to do it. You can also stand up your own little test project that will make HTTP client requests to that API and inspect interactions with it. Both I think are valid, but if you own and host that API, and you build it with ASP.NET Core, I would look at using the in-memory web server to interact with that. How you doing? Strug asks, will I make a stream about identity? Yes, we're getting there. It's coming up. Wanted to make sure I answered folks' questions before we got there, because identity is a very complex topic, because no two people have the same requirements. So we got about 10 minutes left here in our AMA session. M3 Speed King has a Blazor server website with multiple languages. Cool. Can I do the resx files in subfolders? You should be able to. Yes. How you doing there, Data? On YouTube, will I explain mocking data for business services? Yes, we can talk about that. DJ Homer asks, are there any major updates from Visual Studio 2019 to Visual Studio 2022? Huge updates. It's now 64-bit. It now has, there's a bunch of other feature updates in their updates. So there's a complete list on the website that you can take a look at. But the big thing is 64-bit. So it breaks through that memory ceiling that we used to have. How you doing there, Mitko in Macedonia? Jack is here from Germany. Guten Nachmittag to you in Germany, Jack. Badger. Ah, there we go. Hot reload. Yep, that's in Visual Studio 22 as well. Yep, comments do get stale. That's right. Thanks, Chris. Can we do DOM manipulation without JavaScript? Asks Z. Yes. Wow. Wow. Look at that. Wow. YouTube. See that? Yeah. Uh-huh. Thank you. And goodbye. Love. Love when folks on YouTube want to harass. Thanks. Thanks so much. Like, why doesn't YouTube see that and block it? Like, really? Really? Like, come on. Can we do DOM manipulation without JavaScript? Yes and no. You can add and remove elements with Blazor, but manipulation, going in and changing the behavior of things after it's been rendered that you don't have control over, no. Can you write low-level functionality with unsafe C# code? Is it similar to C++? They say unsafe C# is neglected by the garbage collector. That's why part of the reason it's unsafe. Does this mean the garbage collector doesn't convert the unsafe blocks to IL? No, it does. It's you're taking control over things. That's part of why it's called unsafe. You are taking control instead of letting the compiler and garbage collector help you out. Emmanuel is interested in logging. Which logging methods are you going to... Yeah, we'll get there. Will Maui support Linux? We answer this question every week. It's not on the agenda right now. There are community groups working on it. It's not something that we're actively in. Really? Are you kidding? If that continues, we're going to have to shut off chat on YouTube. It's that simple. And I'm okay with that. It's YouTube being YouTube. What kind of framework am I going to use for unit tests? XUnit. There are no mods. There is only Fritz. FBO director is in the process of moving several old WebForms projects to .NET Core and Blazor. Cool. I'm trying to get a handle on caching and state management so I can deploy onto a cluster environment. Any thoughts? You're going to want to move everything out of process so that you can transfer and get things, keep that isolated from your application. Output caching should be easy to do. State management, though, you're going to want to save state in a database and pull it from there instead of trying to rely on something like session. Wow. I love when folks come into chat and ask for me to be fired. This is beautiful. Can I import a static method statically to not always write the class name with the static method in it? Yes. Take a look at a using statement. You can write Jorik on Twitch. You can use it's a using static statements. Using static directive. There we go, and I will drop that into chat for you. There you go. What's the proper way of oh wow, I'm missing that. Scrolled a bit. Let's see. Nope, YouTube doesn't do anything about moderation. Yeah. Thank you, Gabriel. Beniam, appreciate it. Where can I get to certify C#? That's right. They're not available. It's something we're taking a look at and determining if there's a path forward. Thank you, Emmanuel. Hewlett-Packard wants to learn to write programs. Fantastic. Take a look at .net/learn. We've got all kinds of tutorials and links to videos like this one over there that you can take a look at. Can I talk about application insights for logging and analysis? Not going to dive into it, TG, but I'll point out that it's out there. 3.5 minutes to go. Is Maui able to make the old Super Mario game in 60 frames a second? No. Can the ID numbering scheme be defined on a Poco in MVC? Sure. How you doing, Zofran? Good to see you. I need more details before I can give you specifics on that, but sure. Stefan asks, what is the proper way of setting up tests in XUnit with constructor and disposable or implementing iasync lifetime? Need some details on what you're looking for there. That's a very specific question. I would suggest putting that over on a Stack Overflow. Redis? Yes, I would use Redis for that background state and cache management. Absolutely, FBO. That's a great option. Bulat says, Blazor is still slower than React, Svelte, Solid, isn't it? No. No. If you get those to the same size as a Blazor application, Blazor's faster. Significantly faster because it has full access to the processor. Yeah, hey, YouTube folks, come on over to Twitch. Yeah, the water's warm over there. What's the advantage of using C# in the web instead of JavaScript if we cannot manipulate data after the elements are rendered? Well, you can manipulate data after the elements are rendered. If Blazor rendered a component, you're asking questions that I showed in the Blazor series, but if Blazor rendered and owns the lifetime of a component, it can change the content of that component. If you need to reach into things outside of that lifetime, if you need to reach into the browser, into the navigator, and interact with that, you can use some JavaScript interop to get there. Yes, agreed. YouTube is not live stream friendly. Totally agreed. Thank you, Johnny B. Cat. Is there a plan about making Visual Studio Community available on Linux? No, that's what VS Code is. The survey was delivered, and folks wanted an editor, not an IDE on Linux, and we got Visual Studio Code. And Visual Studio Code is the most used code editor in the world. Nightbot would do the trick for spam. It would, it doesn't. It's already over there and running, Nick. And it doesn't. It's awful. Where can I learn all the things I need without paying for courses? .net/learn. Any recommendation of channels that stream data and Azure-related stuff? Stay tuned. The Entity Framework team has a stand-up that they run. Is it once every 2 weeks, once a month, here on this channel? And there's more we have planned. Oh, look, see, that person was already banned, and they've been banned again. Yep. So, can I have a session on caching? That's a very open-ended question. Is Fluxor the default state management? No. No way Blazor is as fast as React. Take the Pepsi challenge. It is when you do processor-intensive things in the browser. Trust me. You want the number to start at 6,000 instead of 1 for identity? Yep, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. Maybe even add in an alphanumeric. Yep, you can do that also. When you create your identity key there, and I know time ran up, but we've been dealing with idiots here on YouTube. So when you set up your identity, you can configure how it's built. You don't have to use the default configuration that SQL Server gives you for a primary key. Let's see there. Can you have the Twitch link? Sure. You can join us on Twitch by going to Twitch TV/Visual Studio. Does iMemory cache have an option to use LRU strategy? I don't know. I'd have to go look. How does Blazor reduce cross-site scripting? Because it's all compiled C#. And it automatically URL and HTTP encodes everything. Can we cover filters with real-life use cases? No. Sorry, that's not the demos that I have for us today. Do I have a source for namespace project resolution of namespaces for C#? No, I don't. Sorry. No, yeah, we've tried setting up Nightbot, and every now and again it works, and most times they circumvent and they know how to work around it. And I fully expect they'll be back, interrupting us. So let's move on. Let's get into today's lesson. Like, you're in a beginner's class here, and you're asking about how to build an IDE for C#. Like, that's a little bit outside the scope for today's question. All right. So, moving on. We're going to talk about, we're diving back into our project. We're building a website to help manage a collection of things. Everybody has a collection of things. I've got a collection of hats. You might have a collection of coins, stamps, movie posters, comic books, baseball cards, football cards, whatever it might be. Everybody's got some sort of a collection of things, and it'd be really cool to show them off on a website. So we've been building this website and using it to learn different features of ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Core and MVC. So we're going to take that website now and let's add logging into it. I showed a little bit of logging in the past, but let's dive in a little bit further on logging and talk about log levels, how to configure log filters, logging categories, so we can see how those things interact. We'll tinker with that a little bit here. We're then good, and that was a first question that was asked. We also had a question asked about how to use action filters, how to build filters, how to interact with those. And we're going to take a look at that. There's a couple different filters that are out there that you can use while you're building your applications. But there are techniques for you to build your own action filters so you can inspect and interact with how your application runs. We'll talk about that in just a second. And the last question we had that we're going to dive into is about unit testing. How do we set up a test project so we can automatically test our ASP.NET application as we build features? This leads into common practices like behavior-driven development, test-driven development, so that you write tests as you build features. When there's bugs reported, you write a test that exposes that bug, that exercises your code and finds that error scenario. You fix your code so the test passes, and now you know you fixed your bug, and you can release and publish your software. They're great strategies, they're great methodologies for you to use as you're writing code, but we're going to talk about how to build a test project today. All right. All right. Taking a look here. Thank you so much, Johnny B. Cat. I'm glad you like the hats. I need to load more on the website. Yes, this is just the QA segment ending. You're right, Surly Dev. It's time to get a little serious. I've been trying to make sure that I've got the gunners all cleaned up here, so we're ready to go. Yeah, there's folks that have some good roadmaps for .NET folks. Will I cover application insights? Not specifically today, no. Just logging, and application insights happens to be one place that can consume our logs, store those. Jesse says, Jeff Fritz, say hi to me. How you doing there, Jesse? Good. Is it Hesse? Good to see you. Hello. Oh, and look, and see, they're changing their name so they can come back through. Yeah. Great stuff. All right. Am I going to cover integration tests? Nope, just covering unit tests. Yep, I think it's time to shut down YouTube chat. Sorry, friends. If you'd like to chat, if you'd like to ask questions, we'll be over on Twitch, but sorry. Where'd it go? Here. And in this one. Yep. Stream settings. What the heck? No. Where'd it go? Create a poll. No. Alright, where did they hide it now? Because it's not in the places where I was looking for it before. Bye, Chris. Yep, the Twitch channel is there, right there. I've worked with this setting, I can't tell you how many times in the past, but I don't see it. No. Come on. No, I don't see the disable chat setting anymore. Sorry, friends, I gotta moderate. It is... It's not here anymore. This doesn't make sense. Yep, there it is again. Yep. No, the community stuff is all missing here. And I don't have access. No. Yeah, I don't have access to that. Can I create a Slack channel? No. All right, let's move on. Let me head over, get ready for Test. Yeah, I think we're okay. Taking a quick look. No, it's okay. All right. Yeah, let's talk about the code and get writing. So I will see you on the other scene in just a minute. There we go. All right. All right. Let's do this while I'm here. Yeah, I'm... There we go. No, I'm not going to be able to do that from here. Nah, forget it. All right. Let's do this. Let's talk about, and I'm still here. Let's talk about answering some of your questions that have come in over the past few weeks as we've been building our website, asking about things that we want to build, things that we want to learn more about. So we wanted to jump in here about logging, action filters, and testing. And I go through, I read these messages, and I try to plan content appropriately so we can get you the training, the learning that you need, that you want to build us, to build a little bit of what we're looking for. So the first question that we had coming through is, hey, can you discuss logging? There's a lot going on there inside of ASP.NET. What can we do with logging is really where this is going. So let me dive in over here, and I will show you. So I updated my README there. Yeah, we're going to get into this. Close that, and let's take a look at this. And let's put the preview actually over here. So this came in from Psi Gamma, all right? We want to talk about logging. Now, I've got links in the documentation for you to the logging capabilities in ASP.NET Core so you can see the fundamentals, the actual documentation behind my coffee about logging in .NET Core and ASP.NET Core. There's a lot going on there that you can find out. Logging providers, configuring, using just a program CS and getting things logging, log categories, log levels, log events. You want to put logs in event log. You can do all of those things with the logging capabilities that come with ASP.NET Core. Very, very cool stuff. Not just ASP.NET Core, but also if you're building a service application, you can interact and use that as well. So, how do we get started? How do we build and start writing logs? Well, there's log capabilities that are built into your application by default. And you can interact with them then to write messages into first the console is the basic log that you can interact with. So let me show you where that is to start. So I'm going to drop down. I have a version here called 1207 Logging, Filters, and Tests. That's where we're going to be working today. And inside of our home controller over here, not that far. I think that's okay, I guess. Everything works with having this, no, I want to be over here. Really? There it is. Format document, Shift-Alt-F. Okay. So everything works around having this logger object available to us. You see this right here? So our logger object can be injected. We saw this, a little bit of dependency injection right here. So you're passed in a logger. You request, I'd like a logger of this type, okay? A logger for the home controller, and that gives you a category that you're logging about. Now, I believe we can use just logger here and interact with it. I think I have to open. Let me open folder and get this at the right level. Down in here, this one, source. Yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to go back into that same controller. So I'm waiting to see OmniSharp there light up and say, okay, I know what this is. Yeah. Yep, go ahead. So this, there we go. I can request just a generic logger, or I can request a logger of a specific type, right? The generic type there, that allows me to specify I'm logging for things about this object. So that's why I specified initially here, this is the logger for things going on in the home controller. This way, I can group all of the logs that I create about the home controller in one place. I can filter and find that easily when my logs are created. So loggers are made available to you through dependency injection. And I just stash a copy in this field right here. Now I can go through my code and I can write log messages when things happen, right? So I can certainly write in here, right? Logger, and I could say, let's log this as a warning. Someone is requesting the homepage. Okay, it's not a warning, but I want to show you the warning level, right? This is probably informational logging that you would be doing here. So let's run that. I'm going to go over here. For some reason, Spotify is running. That's fine. Go away. So let's clear this. We're going to go into 1207 source, and let's .NET watch here. It's going to build the website. It's going to restore everything. And by default, it's going to log to the console because I'm running here locally as a debug development environment. I want this information to be on the console. So there it is. It requested. There's my hat collection website. And when I look over here, there's my warning message right there that I created. Someone is requesting the homepage. So I'm getting a message written into my console-based log here that for me as a developer who's working in debug mode locally, this is good for me to be able to see. Now, okay, I have to go look for, and the font color is all the same here for a warning. If I change that to an error instead of log warning, right? Let's say this is an error, right? And I'm going to get hot reload kick in. You see that? Fetch, watch, and there you go. And there it says fail, home controller. Someone is requesting the homepage. So I can look for and I can find that data in my logs, right? Useful. And it's grouped and it shows you that it was for the home controller. This is where the error happened, and I can interact with that. Perion on Twitch asks, is this the same approach you would use for logging in microservices in a Kubernetes environment? Yes. We would configure where the log is written, though, so that it goes into some central location that you can then work with. Okay? That's important, that you define, when you set up very expansive tools, architecture, like using Kubernetes and microservices, many different services, you don't want to go look at each machine to try and find this sitting in its event log, right? It's local the event log on Windows, right? The logs on a Linux machine. You don't want to go dig through and look for that. That's a nightmare management scenario that you can avoid, okay? So let's talk about I want to talk a little bit about configuration, and then we'll talk about bringing in some other providers. And I think let me do this. Let me open another. There we go. Another PowerShell here, and let me go down into C#, sessions, season 2. That's where I was. I want to be able to get the whole README up here so I can show you and go through that as well. Because it also has my agenda I want to make sure I cover. So that was logging with some sort of a category. Right now, the category was that object that I passed in the home controller up there. But I could pass this as just plain iLogger and receive this as just iLogger. When that saves, yes, restart the app. There it goes. And now you see I get a little bit of an error coming out. Oh, wait a sec. Unable to resolve iLogger. So we need to actually get a factory object that we can use to create a logger. And we specify then the category name we want to write to. So we can now call this the category for this logger that we're using, instead of having it receive the home controller object and say, well, give me for the home controller object, I can call this, whatever, my website, right? Save that. Now I have that logger out there. I'll let that rebuild. And now, take a look. Now, instead of it saying fail home controller, now it says fail my website, and someone is requesting the homepage. So, good information for you to be able to start tracking and logging. And the log error, right, those were helper methods that I was showing you, right, that be able to log at various levels, right? Log critical, log debug, log error, log information, trace, warning, so on and so forth. There are different log severity levels that you're used to probably seeing. Trace, debug, information, warning, error, and critical. And, right, they increase in severity from trace, the lowest level, all the way to critical, right? Hey, something bad happened. You need to do something about it, right? Critical error. Now, you have those helper methods that you saw there inside the IntelliSense window. You can also, if you don't want to use those, you can also call log directly and pass in the log level. I've got an extra one there, right? So I can now say log level and do something here, you know, oh, this is a warning, and there's the message, okay? So that might be a better way for you to do it if you want to make that log level something that you configure somewhere else and have it flow into your code along with that message. Sure, you can do those things. I'll come back to chat in just a second. Yeah, look at that. So I have those capabilities around how I write my log messages. There is also, I'm losing track of what I was thinking here. When you log an error, that's the last thing I want to talk about. You can pass an event ID, but the big thing that I want you to see here is you can pass an exception. So what I like to do when I'm logging for an exception that was thrown, I'll just pass that exception along, right? Along with perhaps a message, probably not a message, but I might say where it occurred, right? So if we say except is new argument null exception, foo, right? I can say log error ex error while processing request for the homepage. And the logger output here gives you a little bit more information, right? It gives you that string message that I specified, and it gives you that description that comes out of that exception, the message that exception has. So you can inspect and go a little further. So I get the argument null exception value cannot be null. parameter foo, right? It gives you better handling of that information when you log error and you pass in the exception. Good things to know and be aware of. Now, before I go and start showing more configuration of logging and we get into that, let me take these questions that have come up here in chat. Let's see. Hell Green asks on Twitch, can you include the source of the log call, the function name? The home controller is a broad term. Sure it is, right? I mean, I'm passing in, right? Scroll up there, Fritz. I'm certainly passing in, right, a description here, but I can certainly make that, whatever text that I want that makes sense for me to track in logging right here. DJ DeepX, is the standard ASP.NET Logger just a console output, or is it expandable like Serilog? Spoiler alert, DJ DeepX. That's not our next discussion. Our next feature we're going to talk about. We're going to get to Serilog just after that. Yeah. You can absolutely extend with Serilog. There's a bunch of other log providers that you can use. You're right. Hey, Psy Gamma, there you are. Deflux TY, hello. Yes, and the spammer's back. Even though I've banned them on YouTube, they're back. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Wow. It's funny, if I was wasting your time, you wouldn't be watching. But instead, you're watching. So it must be somewhat valuable. Moving on. So, logging, the different log levels. Now, once you have log levels, you can filter then by severity and category in app settings JSON. There's instructions here about how to do that. There we go. Inside your app settings JSON, you're going to see something that looks like this by default. Logging, log level, and default is log everything that is information level and more severe. If there's something coming out of Microsoft ASP.NET Core, give me the warnings and more severe. So warning, exception, and warning, error, and critical are what will be logged if it comes out of Microsoft ASP.NET Core categories. This way, you can actually dial back the amount of logging. So you can say, show me all the messages that ASP.NET Core is creating, or don't show me anything, turn it all the way up so I only get the errors, all right? So, yeah, I don't know their reasoning. So if I go back over here to my code, right, I'm over in here, I'll pop that open, there's app settings JSON, right? So there you see the log levels that are provided. So let's dial this one back to information. And I'm going to restart the application. And wait till you see the amount of logs that come out now, right? There's all the Entity Framework core stuff. And as I make requests to the website, right, I'm getting all the Entity Framework core stuff. Do I want that all the way down to trace? Is that what it is? I'm trying to remember the demo. No, I'm not getting quite the information that I was hoping to see coming out of this. That's wait. I'm gonna put that back like that. There is an app settings development JSON here. There it is. Now, when you're building configuration, you can add a environment, the development environment in this case, into your app settings file name, and it'll take that version instead of this one and put them together. I'm going to remove this content for right now and go back to app settings. I was going to say, I thought there was a heck of a lot more that it showed. Rebuild that. There we go.
Now I'm starting to get all the information about the request. You see the web request actually happen here with the log information, that it's requesting each one of these files, okay? And as I refresh the page, you see the endpoint, the information about everything it's requesting, because we've dialed up. We've said, don't filter out all the information about those requests. I want all the information coming through. And I can take that all the way to trace level. Config reload token fired, checking for changes. Okay. And if we refresh again, yeah, down there. Right now we're getting all this trace information. Look at that, sending payload 3 bytes. We're getting all of this information now because we've asked for it, right? So don't be afraid to dial up and log more. Look at that, sent a ping to the client, sending payload, because I'm asking for all the trace information. I would encourage you, use logging as much as you want in your application and rely on the filters to dial down how much code is being emitted out here. All right, let's dial this back. Let's take the Microsoft content back to warning level. Config token fired, checking for changes, and I'll force it to rebuild so that we get a cleaner list here. All right. Now let's go back over here, and the object that I was logging, right, you see there, my website, error, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's go in here and set, right, that was at error level. So let's put, right, it was, where'd it go? My website, capital M, right? And if I tell that critical, look at, did you see that? Visual Studio Code knows the options for this. All right, let me do that again. My website. There we go. It knows, because this is an app settings file and I'm in the logging section, these are the possible options. Only show me the critical ones. I'll save that. I'll rebuild, and we should see that my website disappear. And it's no longer there, right? Okay, because I told it for the My Website category, right? And that was here. I created a logger of type My Website. Don't include that, right? If it's critical, don't include it. When I did that generic type of logger, right? So let's take this as iLogger home controller, right? There we go. Simplify that again. So there it is, rebuilt, rerun. There's the fail, and see, it's my collection site controller's home controller. What's nice about this is I can say, just like you saw over in the app settings, I could say, well, everything that's being logged for my collection site, right, in that base, exclude that, because it starts with that, right? And there you see it's no longer included. All right, I'll refresh the website, and it's not included. Terrific. So I've got a lot of flexibility in how I specify that, and because those configuration filters are specified in app settings JSON, they're configuration parameters. And from our configuration stream, you know that we can pass those in on the command line as environment variables, other places that you want to set up and read configuration from, because configuration is extensible as well. You can put those configuration items in those places and load and enable and disable your configuration appropriately. Put it into Key Vault, Azure Key Vault, and roll it out so everybody gets the same settings at the same time. Let me take a look at chat and get caught up here. Is it possible to show entity framework messages with logging? Right there. So you can dial that up and you can dial that down appropriately. That's up to you how much entity framework content you want to see in your logs. With these direct database messages, that's up to you, right? I can certainly say Microsoft Entity Framework Core, right? If I want to turn those off, let's do that. There's a good example from who's asking that. Psi Gamma, oh my gosh. There's the person who asked the question for us here today. So I'll put that in, and I'll say, just give me the warnings for those, right? Because you can see they're informational for that. So I'll rebuild, and now I shouldn't see, and I don't get that block of information. Even when it refreshes, it's not there. So you could even go simpler and say, you know what? Just don't show me anything that was made by Microsoft. Unless it's above a warning, don't show me the content. And it'll come through and be clear so that effectively you're only getting errors about your code. That's valuable. That's really valuable. So, yeah, see, now I've only got started, right? Let me go to my collection site here and turn this back to, let's make this debug, right? So we'll let that reload. So now I get just the messages that I created that are from my website in the log. All kinds of games you can pull here to set that up. I can't tell you what's a best practice for configuration levels and how you want to configure your categories and things. That's going to be up to your application, okay? So I'm not going to go through and instrument all of our methods with log methods, but I wanted you to see how that works. For non-secret configuration data, asks Simon, we're moving from Key Vault to Azure App Configuration. Sure, absolutely, you can do that as well, and it provides them as environment variables, as configuration parameters into your application. Caparino asks, does logging impact performance of a website? Console write line in a loop slows down the app at a console app. Yes. Logging is typically done asynchronously, and with .NET 6, we actually can code generate logging so that it runs even faster. But once it hits that sync, depending on how the log is persisted, you can either see it making things faster or making things slower. If you go through a queue to save your logs, you're going to see really great performance. Tools like Serilog have these various syncs that allow you to specify where you want it written out. If you are writing to the console, it will slow things down. That being said, you're not going to see and feel that slowdown until you have some significant pressure on your application. It's a good idea when you're in a production space to shut off the console logger and only log to a service that's persisting your logs for you. Application Insights, a number of folks have mentioned here, as well as Serilog is the other example that we're going to take a look at here today. Dan is scared. How you doing, Dan? Scared by the sheer amount of knowledge you need to learn to get a comfortable level of not feeling a noob all the time. Chat room, come here. I want to talk for a second. I feel like a noob a lot too. There's a lot going on. A lot of things happening in technology. A professor of mine in college at Penn State, a guy named Stan Ungst, fantastic gentleman. I learned so much from him. But he said to me, Fritz, the only constant in this industry is change. Everything's changing. If you try to live in the moment and don't learn new technologies, you don't advance your applications, your systems. You don't have them grow and become enhanced. Take on new features, use new hardware, use new programming language, frameworks, all these things. They're going to get stagnant and folks aren't going to want to use them because there's other new shiny things that folks can use. Yeah, I feel like a noob at times too. It takes time reading, practicing, talking about it with colleagues, and eventually you'll feel comfortable and then you won't feel like a noob. But damn, I agree. It takes a while to get to that point. One thing that I've learned that's helped my career is that I've learned how I learn. That has helped me to become more comfortable with tools and technologies faster. So, yeah, imposter syndrome is a part of that as well. How is logging configured typically in an enterprise app on a dev team, asks Gamma. It depends. An enterprise app would be a larger application. I would look at some sort of a configuration service. Azure configuration does that for you. There's other ways that you can put your configuration in a shared file and distribute it out to all of your servers. I do like Azure Configuration Service or Azure Key Vault as a place to put that so all of your services can get in tune and use them all from the same central repository. Clear providers, we can talk about that in just a second when we get into Serilog here as well. Do the logs get saved somewhere in local folders, asks Cold Hands 18. Good question. Cold Hands, they don't by default. There are providers, like the ones we're about to take a look at, that will do that for you so that you can have them roll over, have a certain file size before they change and roll over, or you get a new file once a day like you're used to seeing. So a bunch of options that are there that are available for you, and we're going to look at Serilog as our provider here in a second. Danny asks, how often do I use logging? Danny, I feel shame. I cheat a little bit here. I don't use logging directly. I'll instead use console write line. Oh, and there's our spammer again, even though we've been blocked and punted several times. Thanks so much, YouTube. You're a real waste of my time. Hasu Jason, if you should, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, you're welcome, Nathan. You feel like you're new several times a week. Yeah, Space Shot, I agree. Amir 5-Star West asks, is it possible to use one page with Blazor server side and one page with Blazor WebAssembly in one project? Yes, we don't provide that capability out of the box, but you can do it. You're going to have to cobble it together, but it can be done. DJ Deepex, totally agreed. DJ Deepex says, my motto, first make it run, optimize, and update it later. Yes, absolutely. Learn how you learn, right? You spent how many years in grade school through high school, go to university, and hopefully you learned how you learn. You know how you learn best. Do that. And you'll feel better about being more comfortable with technologies and your skills sooner than later. The places that Guacamole has worked, application logging is done to a database. Logging levels in production, generally critical error level. Yes. Warning and higher, depending on what types of things you're looking at. I can absolutely see folks turning it up to error only, but absolutely warning and higher. And when you're in debug mode, when you're in development mode locally, like you see with the app settings development JSON here, right? Turn that down so that we see everything. Show me all the messages all the time. Took years for Hutch to get comfortable with a loaded notes programmer background. There you go. Yeah. Jose asks, how do you log those logs into a file? Yep, we're going to talk about that in just a second here with Serilog. Wow. Yeah, YouTube, your chat is really, it's a waste of my time, honestly. If we can't moderate that reliably. Should I use a logger in every controller? No, Sachin, I wouldn't. There's some logging that goes on underneath the skin, underneath the top layer that you can be okay with here. So if I turn this back, right? Let's comment that out. Right? If I say just give me all the information, right? My collection site, let me turn that back to warning, right? So I'm getting the information from it. Is that stuff that you want to see? Maybe. Maybe. You might want to see this log information. Of course, your web server, IIS, is going to have its own logs that it keeps to show the connections and interactions that it has. If you use Apache or Nginx, they have their own log messages that they store and maintain. That's up to you how you want to keep those. But for the purposes of your application logging, I'm not sure you would need it in every controller. I would definitely pass it into some of your business services, some of your business classes where you're making decisions on things and you want to log so that you know when those decisions were made, right? You're building a storefront website. You should probably put a warning log message out there when somebody tries to return something, right? There's a difference in charge interaction that's happening. Hey there, Ad the Dev Man. Good to see you. Has anyone ever told me I look like David Harbour? He plays the sheriff on Stranger Things, and I'm blanking on the sheriff's name. Hopper. Yes, I've been told that once or twice. If some of the PH16 folks are over there in Twitch, yes, they've they've done split screen images of me and David Harbour next to each other. Yes, I think I've got better hair than David. Oh no, it's green screened out. But yes. If I'm using Serilog, do I still need the extensions logging? No. Let's get into that. I'm a season 3 hopper or a season 1. Thank you, friends. Oh, that's funny. You never see us both in the same place. No, you don't. You don't. So we talked about log filtering now by severity and category. We can also configure other providers. Come on, did it? Yeah, there we go. Like Serilog. Serilog is a very popular open source package that you can use to log information to various locations inside your application. So let's add Serilog into our project here. I'm going to drop down to the command line here. There we go. I'll paste in that install package statement here, .NET add package, Serilog ASP.NET Core, and that'll make Serilog available to this project. Look at it going and installing all of its dependencies. That makes me feel good. And now I can go and start using Serilog. Now, I need to get it configured by reaching into the logger configuration. Create a logger configuration and put it into the mix. Now, that's if I was writing it in a program. If I'm here in ASP.NET Core, I can use Serilog. Move that. I'm kind of... There we go. I can say use Serilog as I build my configuration. So, in ASP.NET, go over to the right. There it is. Let's go to program. So created builder. So I think we need to update the content here. Is it just builder use Serilog? Is that it? No. It's host create default builder, which should be that. Am I missing a using statement? I bet you I'm missing a using statement. Let's grab these two. Now, why don't you like that? Yeah. Builder, use Serilog. I'm not sure why it's... Why is it giving me that error? How you doing there, Kime? You're welcome. Why not expose to standard out any container shippers can handle it? Yes, that's what the console does. And it does work with that. No. Where does that go then? because they changed this. No. It's not on build. I didn't think this all the way through. Is it on? I don't think it's on services. No, it's not on there. And why isn't it? I don't think it's there. No. Yeah, see, and there's about application insights. Serilog, ASP.NET, Core 6. Somebody give me, where's this thing supposed to be? Yeah, thanks. Go away. Blah, 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 blah. Yep. I'm not going to talk about that. It is builder host use Serilog. There it is. There we go. Good. So now, when it logs, it'll use Serilog instead. And we'll actually, and we could set up, there it is. We can remove the logging section from app settings JSON, can be replaced with Serilog configuration, and we can start to get some more interesting information coming out. So let's yank this. Ooh, what was that? And I've never felt that before. Good. Yeah, .NET. And I want to make sure, I've got 20 minutes left. I'm going to drop out of this, and we'll talk about filters here in just a second. Come on. Come on. What are you doing out there, fella? Try that one more time. Let's .NET Watch instead. Building, there it goes. So with Serilog now, I have more discrete direction of how I want, where I want it sending information. So we can use this type of configuration to specify where we'd like information to go. But that's, where is it? It's in the sample project. Let's take a look at that. So create host builder. There it is. Use Serilog configuration. Read from, enrich, write to console. Let's do that. Let's grab all that information. Put it right there. File changed, hot reload. In order for program to rerun, we have to refresh. There it goes. So now, there's the application running. But now I've got Serilog writing and maintaining this, and it's got a slightly different format, right? So, executed action, executed endpoint, and I can configure and interact with this using Serilog's configuration mechanisms, and that will control where things are written. Now I'm specifying write to console. I can tell it to write to other locations, including application insights, to a database, to other locations that are appropriate for my application. That's how you configure, and you can push your log information to other servers. Yeah, there we go. It was builder host. So, will Serilog slow down an enterprise application if it is used to log user activity? No, because you'll push information out to those databases, and it'll right there. So, all right. Let's move on to the next question that we had that I want to make sure we get to here today. And I'll just leave Serilog in there for now. The next question came from Sheridan Chris and asks about creating filters in ASP.NET Core. So a filter is a way for you to write some code that executes before a method takes place and after an action method takes place. And there's two signatures that we use for these called on action executing and on action executed. Executing is before your action method runs. On action executed executes after. So you can wrap and inspect. Hey, you know, maybe there's some variables you want to take a look at as they're coming into your application. Right? Maybe there's some things on the request that you want to take a look at before it gets passed on. This is a way for you to create a little bit of middleware. It's not really a preferred way that I've seen folks write interactions to intercept and inspect those capabilities, those various features inside your application. It's kind of descriptive how it does it, but it's not a preferred way. So let's write something here. We'll call this the inspect filter. And I'm going to say this is namespace write my collection site. And we're going to create a public class called inspect filter. And this is an iAction filter. Okay. This. Yep. Hide that. And let's implement the interface. And there's the two methods. Now I can go through and inspect and take a look at, let's leave that there. Let's delete this. Nope, I'm not going to do that. Let's take a look at what's inside the context. So I can look at what exactly has been, what has been done there. So because logging is made available to us through dependency injection, that's not what I want. I want a public inspect filter. I want an iLogger of type inspect filter. Yes. Look at this. Look at that. Generate that. Thank you so much. Now I can come down here and I can say, if it contains API, there we go, logger request for path, and it will only do that when the context is on the API path. So let's now apply this to our application. I can put that on my home controller, and it has a couple of API methods here. I can attach that action filter, and it should be, I need to make it the inspect filter attribute. Come here, you. Yep, attribute. There it goes. Inspect filter attribute. One of these. That. Come here. Cool. So. No, I didn't. It isn't the attribute on it, is it? No, roll that back. I thought I had to make it an attribute. Right? And that should be building. Yes, please. Yeah, it's not an attribute class. Shoot, I forget how to attach my own filters here. How annoying is that? You think you know something, and right, so I defined how to create it. Simple action filter, iAction filter, and yes. Yeah, action filter attribute is. Yeah, that's really what I wanted. Hang on, go back to that. Over here. And this. Action filter attribute. Now, why doesn't it like these ones? Let's get rid of that. I'm going to grab this. On action executing. There it is. Oh, yes. Now I can go back over here. That should work. Injecting the logger. Because it's a attribute. So let's make this public. Rename that. Am I crossing my Blazor? I don't remember if that works. No, I'm forgetting how to do property injection on ASP.NET. But having a filter like that, right? I will go and dig this up and make sure I have this correct. You should be able to. Yeah, there it goes now. And it's going to error out when it actually runs because it doesn't have. There we go. Did it? Did it log it? I didn't go to the API. If I go to the API, we got about 10 minutes left. Where is it? Over here. My APIs are things like items. So we'll go to API items. Yeah. I need to get that thing injected, and I'm forgetting how to do property injection right now. Can we enable specific logs with user's consent? What you put in your logs with regards to your user is up to you. If you want to give consent to decide whether or not to log something, there you can write that configuration yourself. Are the methods executed based on application state or lifecycle? Lifecycle, and that's why I kind of push to do that with middleware. And there's, even though they're blocked, they're back. I assume an action filter is not a right way for implementing basic authentication for a web API. Actually, the way that we promote and we suggest folks do authentication is with an action filter that is already provided for you called the authorize filter. And you put this on top of your controller or various methods to enforce how you want that to be, to enforce what you want authorized. So, and JWT will configure and put into that authorize the roles and responsibilities policies there. Context request service. Oh, that's not your. I see where you're going. If we go back over here, I can get rid of this. Right. We could say var logger equals. Let me grab that context. HTTP context. Request services. Oh man, I thought there was a way to do this. iLogger inspect filter close. Now we're requesting it each time, but that, I mean, that's okay. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. So there's the items API. I refresh it. And where's the message? Request for path. There it is, right there. Request for API items. Being logged, coming out of our filter, right? So file changed, it's rebuilding and running. I'll refresh the API. And there it is. From the filter. Fantastic. You think stock authorized does not support basic auth? No, it does. You have to configure it. From services, I'd have to take a look. I'd have to tell you. Okay, moving on. I want to talk last about, and I've got 5 minutes to go here. I want to talk about setting up a test project for ASP.NET Core. So let's put this down right next to our existing code. I'm going to put it in a folder right next to it, right over here. So .NET New list, show me all the templates that I have here. And there are lots of templates, but I want this one down here, XUnit test project. All of the various test projects, test frameworks have some sort of a template to help get you started. Oh, look, we're getting even more creative. Over on Twitch. Wow. Now you're messing with fire. We have XUnit over here that we can create a new project, so let's do that. .NET New XUnit, and I'm going to call the folder test. All right. It's going to create a simple project, have all the libraries for XUnit to write my unit tests loaded in there, and I will say .NET. Let's clear this. .NET SLN add. So I'm going to add into my solution the test project. There it is, add it to the solution. So folks who open this in full Visual Studio get both the website and the test project opening and in the same folder. So I now, when I take a look over here, I'm in my source folder. Let me go up a folder here. Yeah, open that folder. So source test. If I drop into test, there's my test project. I'm going to add a reference from my test project to the source project so I can reach into the web project and execute and test things. So inside of test, I'm going to add a reference, .NET add reference, and it's to the source project. There we go. Okay. Now, inside here, Short, go ahead. Project to launch is normally that one. So there's a unit test that it generates for you by default that has this fact attribute. You create public classes with public methods that return void, and you put fact on top of them, and these will be your tests that are executed by the framework. Other frameworks do similar structure, but inside of here, I can now run .NET test, and it'll run that test and tell me, after it builds everything, come on, there it is. One test passed. Fantastic. So let's write some other tests to interact with our code. I've got 3 minutes to go here. So I'm going to reach into my, I'm not going to talk about mock. That's going to be a little bit more than I wanted to today. But I can reach into controllers, and I can reach into the home controller here, and I can interact with and even call the index and inspect the action result that is generated. Now, I would need mock to generate mock versions of these. But the goal is, with MVC, create your controllers and execute these action methods. I'll write up a couple tests that go inside the test project here, and I'll have those available for you as a follow-up after this. If you're watching the recording, take a look at the description. In the description just below, there's a link to the GitHub repository. I will have a link directly into this project, and I'll put some sample code in here that shows you how to use mock objects to populate these two parameters that are being injected. Instead, inject fake objects that we can work with and inspect what's happening inside the index. All right? Let me head back over to the main desk here, and let's wrap things up for the day as we hit the end of our time together. This one. Yeah, smash that like button. Woo! Still there? Yeah.
All right, back over to this one. YouTube, you're not doing me any favors here today. Let me tell you. Yep, this one is... Thank you. Somebody's already suspended and punted that account. Thank you so much, friends, for being here today. Had a lot of fun together. Always having a great time writing some code. But it's time to wrap up. I am... I'm happy we got through the couple questions. Like I said, I need a little bit more time to get the rest of that test information in there. But I want to get into adding this into continuous integration next time. I want to talk about putting it into GitHub Actions so you can see tests run live on GitHub and how they output information for you. Thank you so much, friends, for being here. Thank you for dealing with. Yep, there's. I don't know why I keep removing this person and they keep coming right back. Thank you so much, friends, for dealing with yeah. Yep, the troll's been reported and punted over on Twitch. YouTube, even though I keep removing it, YouTube keeps putting them back in. Thank you so much, friends, for tuning in. I appreciate you joining me. Let me take a look at who else is streaming on the big Twitch TV network. Friends that are watching on YouTube, there's lots of great videos available for you that you can catch up with. You can watch. Folks that are watching on Learn TV, there are many more videos that are coming up that you can tune into over there, coming right after this. And those of you that are on Twitch, we're setting up for a raid. Let me take a look around the horn here and see who else is streaming we can get you connected with, get you raided into for a little bit of fun. And I am... Wow. Taking a quick peek to see who else is online. Let me get you rated over to Tim Baudet. Looking at the list of folks that are out here. Yeah. Let me get you connected with Tim. Tim's a independent game developer who's working on a level editor for one of his games using C++. Thank you so much. Get ready to say hi to Tim, and I will see you tomorrow over on my channel, CSharpFritz. We'll have a lot of fun over there, writing some Blazor code, building for Azure, and I hope to see you then. Take care.